poom poom eating sex demon. That's what we got up in here. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're watching Watch This, Read That, where I discuss film, TV, and screenwriting tips for beginning writers, as well as book recommendations. So I got a chance to see I Love Boosters a few days ago, and I wanted to come on here and talk about it. So if you'd like to know my review, my thoughts, my opinion, stay tuned. So I Love Boosters stars Keke Palmer. She plays a character called Corvette, and she is, I would say, the leader of a group called the Velvet Gang, which is a group of women who are boosters. If you don't know what a booster is someone who basically shoplift, but they shoplift not only clothes. Like in this film, clothing was like the main focus, but like boosters will do school supplies, household products. Like in Philly we call it credit. So like I've been in the shop, the hair salon, and like people would have Home Depot credit, like Sephora credit, like just different things. So it's not just for clothing, but usually boosters are usually people that like cater to people in the community that may not can afford, or they may need a little assistance, so they'll kind of like give them a little discount for the item. So that's kind of what a booster is, and it is of course for survival. There's taking these items so that they can sell it, be a resource to the community, but also they need it to make money. So that's just a little FYI if you don't know what boosters are. Corvette is a booster. She is friends with, I would say there's 3 solid members of the Velvet Gang. It's Mariah, played by Taylor Page, and then there is Sade, who is played by Naomi Aki. I think that's her last name. Yeah, so those are the 3 core members, but they also have other people that they like associate with to kind of help them through their process when they have to go actually boost. So I thought it was a very interesting way of like how we were introduced to Corvette, which was very interesting. And we see like Corvette is really kind of like struggling to keep things afloat. She is squatting in an old chicken spot, which was a restaurant that was shut down. And she has her clothes in there where it's like her inventory where she's selling. She also had an apartment that she was like selling stuff out of, but I was like, why isn't she just staying there? But I don't know, like I guess that's where she was just keeping stuff for the time being, and then I don't know if she moved it. They never showed that, but we can see that like Corvette has the weight of the world on her. And some of the things that I like, of course, with Boots Riley work is that he has been leading more. Of course, there's always a social message in his themes, but one of the major reoccurring theme was when Corvette would feel the weight of the world on her shoulders, she would kind of disconnect from reality, and she would start to see this large boulder rolling down the street. As soon as I saw the boulder with all of the chaos on it, it would have like video footage, TV with video footage of the news and just chaos and money and just like a whole bunch of stuff crumbled up on this big cement ball rolling down the street, which she would basically see a mirage of. And I instantly thought of Ball of Confusion, the song by The Temptations. That's immediately what I thought of. And I was like, oh my God, this is such a great metaphor for when the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you're trying to think about how you want to make this money. She doesn't really have a place to live. She's squatting in this chicken spot. She's trying to find her next gig, and she also wants to be a designer. So she just has all this weight on her shoulders, and she even talks about how she feels alone even when she's in a room full of people. Like, she just got a lot going on. And as you can see, like, she is boosting for survival. This is another thing. Not like, I know people be like, oh, they're stealing. It's just like, this is a survival tactic, because as you can see when I go further on, and I would say, like, I'm not going to fully spoil things, but I am going to talk about specific details. And I feel like even though I'm talking about specific things, it's not going to ruin the film. I feel like visually you would still have to see the film. It's not ruining anything. So I will say there will be some spoilers, but in all reality, it's not going to really spoil anything, because you would have to visually see this play out. She has a lot going on, and as we see later on, she actually finds a job, and then we see all of the BS that comes with. So what happens is Corvette, she's outside of a condo, which, when I tell you, okay, let me just talk about the things that I love. First and foremost, I told you I love the ball, the concrete ball that's rolling down, the mirage that Corvette is seeing, the surrealism with that. I love the forced perspective. There's a lot of forced perspective in this film. I feel like Bruce Riley has been playing with forced perspective. He really did it with I'm a Virgo, and he really edged it on with I Love Boosters as well. This apartment building is ridiculous. So they're outside of this condo, this luxury condo, and it is actually slanted like this. But it was it was so funny because we were cracking the fuck up. And it's slanted like this. And I should go in to say, before we get to that condo, we actually get a understanding of this major designer, Christy Smith, and how she's like really beloved. She was deemed really smart. She went to MIT to study, I don't remember exactly, but it was like aerodynamics. Like, it was just like something, you know, MIT, you gotta be math, science. Like, the science is going to MIT. She went there, but she was also very beautiful, and she started dating this fashion designer. And I don't want to go into details about that because you should just watch it. But when I tell you, when they were breaking down Christy Smith, who was played by Demi Moore, they was breaking down her and who she was. It was it was so funny. So that was another thing that I loved, was the humor in here. And they broke down who she was, how she is being constantly hit by boosters. And that's when we see that clip from the trailer where she's saying she's being hit by basic urban bitches. And no disrespect to urban bitches, like that whole clip, that's what that is from, because she's constantly being hit because people are stealing from her store. And when we get to the part where it's going to be the intro to everything happening, Christy Smith lives in this condominium. It is ridiculous. It is actually slanted to the side, and that just plays on like how like some of the stuff that's supposed to be luxury is really ridiculous. Like, it was so ridiculous. Like, everything was slanted. So like when you walked into her apartment, that was like the first perspective where they had to like, they were like walking on a hill, and then like if you lay something down, it will slide. Like, it was just so ridiculous. She had to like run to like get to the door. Like, if you don't want to go to the door, it's like you're sliding down. It was just a mess. So Corvette knows that this coffee delivery is going to her. Well, she don't know, but she has a feeling that it's going to her, which it does. And so she hides inside of the cart, and in her hiding in the cart, she just kind of wanted to get a feel of, I thought she was going to steal something in her apartment, but she wanted to get a feel. But she overhears Chrissy Smith talking about there's $100,000 suits that she just made and they're about to put them out. So her plan is to get these suits, and I'm not going to go into detail about what happens when she's in there. I want to leave room for you to see that. But because of that, this is where we get into the transition of her wanting to work at Metro, which is Chrissy Smith's retail stores, Metro Designers, where she plans to work there so she can kind of get an eye of where the $100,000 suits are, so she can boost them and sell them. So that is the plan. Initially, that is the plan. So she goes for an interview, and like, oh my God, like, this is another thing that I love is the humor. My God, the humor in between, like, the little messaging of just like capitalism and how that plays into work. We have a scene where the employees at Metro Designers are going to Grayson, which is played by Will Poulter. I think that's how you say his name. Hey, I freaking loved his character, even though, like, if he was my manager, I would hate him if he was my manager. But when I tell you, he was just like one of those managers where he's like, it's by the book. Like, he's trying to sell these clothes, and he's trying to do a good job. But he's interviewing Corvette, and he's like, you know, why do you want to work here? Doing this basic interview stuff. And she tells him, and he's like, that's such a great answer. But before that, two of the employees, they look at their check. Their check is like $43, and one of the other employees' check is like $30. Do you know that they are charging them to wear the clothes? So every month, I think it's every month. Yeah, every month, I think the color scheme of the store changes, and so it is required for them to stay on theme, and they have to buy the items. And it's like, when they buy those items, it comes out of their check. I guess they cop it out. It's just so weird. It just speaks to like everything in society. Even if you didn't work at a retail store, keep it up. Like, let's say if you have some type of job that's front facing, and you kind of you're trying to keep up with the lifestyle, keep up with society. That also was a metaphor. And just like little themes of how they had to go on their lunch break. Their lunch break was 30 seconds. Grayson's lunch break was an hour, and they literally would race. He was like, okay, it's your lunch break. They would literally race, get into position, race in position, and he would time them go, and they would run and then run back, and they would have like, they would be out of breath, and they would have like their lunch in their hand, like their drinks in their hand because they finished eating. I was like, because who can take a 30-minute lunch break? If you don't have a lunch on you, by the time you go get your food, come back, 30 minutes is over. It's just like ridiculous. It just really speaks to the culture of work culture. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I love the theme of that. And so when one day as she recruited, so like I said, she goes to the store. The goal is to find out where those $100,000 suits are. She gets the job and she recruits two other people, which is Mariah and Sade, so that they can find the suits and sell them. But they haven't found the suit. But you know what they did find? They actually find a design that Corvette made and submitted to a contest that didn't win. And when I tell you this design was so unique, there's no way you're going to tell me that this was an original design by Christy Smith. This was something that was boosted. It was stolen. So when Corvette saw that, all hell broke loose. She said, I'm going to steal the, she was like, buck the $100,000 suits. We stealing everything. We hitting every store, but somebody beat them to the punch. Now, this somebody that beats them to the punch, what happens is they stole everything so quick where they were like, no, something is up. How did they boost before us? So because a lot of the workers decided, I'm trying to see how much do I want to tell. Anyway, they find out who, I'm not going to tell you, go into details with it. Because they find out who stole the item, they run up on her, and this person is John, who they find out, who's played by Poppy Lou. And first of all, the entire cast is beautiful. And the person who kind of gave them the information, Violetta, I think that's her name, Violetta, played by Elza Gonzalez. And she kind of direct them into what's going on. Now, the only thing I would say, like, Violetta, she would pop up to the point I was like, this is kind of random, but it was necessary. But it would be so random. Like, she would always pop up at like the weirdest time, to the point where it's like, how did you know what to do, or how you know where we live? It was just so interesting. But once they link up with her, they find out about this device. I'm not going to say what the device is, but they find out about this device. It's like accelerators. Okay, I will say what it is. They find this device. It's a time traveling, deconstructing, accelerating. I'm not going to go into detail about those things. I want you to see that. But that is how we get to the mission of wanting to still even more, going from wanting to still to wanting to boost to, you know, for survival, and to, you know, provide a service to the community, versus I want revenge and we need to start to take back our rights, because we find out that there's a lot of other things going on over in the factories over in China. So it goes from being just general survival things, and not even, I wouldn't say superficial. It goes from being these small things that I'm just trying to do just to get by, to actually having a social ground where we need to start to act and revolt because something is going on. So it's having more purpose behind wanting to boost the items. So that's kind of the premise of like what's going on. It goes from like I said, just kind of ends meeting, just like surface level things, to revenge, to okay, we have to do something because this is socially hurting a lot of people. And whether it be the employees that work in the retail store who's not making enough money and they want labor rights, to the actual factory where people are really being affected. And I'm not going to say how or what's going on, but it gets bigger, to like having an actual meaning of wanting to revolt and for moral purpose. So things that I love, like I said, I love the forced perspective. I love how it played. They have a whole action scene where they really play with forced perspective. I love that. Also, I love the themes. If you watch any of Boots Riley's films or series, you understand there's always like a social conversation about capitalism, about society, about people, and how that shapes you as a person. So he fully uses that in this theme. He plays with forced perspective with that in this theme that I loved. There was also a lot of humor in between these social conversations of, you know, are we just doing this for money, or like let's have a little bit of meaning of it. I also love the theme of like friendships and how Sade and Corbett, they kind of were going back and forth, like I was saying before, with, you know, when you are in survival mode, you know, you're just trying to get what you need to get so you can get to the next day. And it goes from one friend understanding that, but then also another friend, Corbett, saying she was there, but now she's moving out of that. But then also them coming to an understanding, like, listen, I'm not here to judge you. I know you got a lot going on. I got a lot going on too. Like, I'm not gonna judge you where you are and what you need to do for you and your children, or for you and now your new perspective on like moving forward. I hope that explained that well. There is a theme that I really love that is just like, it's in the background but it's there. The sex demon, the sex demon theme. When I tell you the metaphor for that was, okay, that it was so funny. There was a, I'll talk about this in the bad that I don't like, but in the next part, next section. But when I tell you, this was a perfect metaphor for when somebody is trying to come into your life and just like F up your world. It was so perfect. And it was just a small, I'm not going to say exactly who it is or what, but I freaking love that thing. I thought it was very smart. I thought it was very smart and just like funny and on the nose, okay? Poom poom eating sex demon. That's what we got up in here, okay? Tempting, tempting. When she said tempting, I was like, oh my god. But that was hilarious. Of course, the Afrofuturism, like I love I I love everything with like the teleporter, the accelerator, the deconstructed. And I'm not even gonna say exactly what that is. You just see it when you go watch it. The fashion. Oh my god, the fashion, the fashion, the fashion. Shirley Carrada, great job, sis. Great job. I hope I said her name right. Great job. The fashion, I was so inspired. I love the monochromatic looks, but it was just like so stylish. I loved it. I felt very inspired visually from this film. So I said, I think I went over everything that I loved. Force perspective, the theme on friendship, the theme of also like changing, like, okay, we used to do this because we're being superficial, but now like I have a moral understanding of like, and then even that, like, okay, yeah, somebody stealing is like, yeah, you ain't supposed to be doing it. However, like, we're all like the same way Christy Smith is stealing from her employees with their time, with their paychecks, and also stealing designs from people. people are stealing her stuff. It's like there's a never-ending cycle here. And she's like, and I thought it was so interesting where she was like, why you gotta steal my shit? And I was like, but you're still also you're stealing from your workers. So like it's just like a never end, like we're all in this. And I think Bruce probably talked about this, like we're all in this. It's just that you gotta have some moral ground, girl. Like $43 in a paycheck, that's nuts. Oh, the music, I love the music. That hi, hi, ho, ho, ha, 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 hey, hey. Like that theme song that went throughout, and then just the music period. I love the music. I love the fashion. I love the visuals. I love the forced perspective. I really enjoyed watching the film. It was a lot of humor when I was watching the film. Okay, two things I didn't like, and they're both related. Y'all know I hate sex scenes, like unnecessary sex scenes. The two sex scenes that were in this film, they were necessary, but they were just very graphic. And when I tell you they were, the first sex scene, I was just like, it started off good. I was like, okay. And then it got really crazy. I understood, but it was just so graphic. I was like, oh my God, I even heard somebody like, oh my God. And then the second one, which I understood and I thought it was so interesting. I'm not gonna say who, but I know Tyler Page was pregnant during this, which I thought it was so interesting that they used her for that scene. Not for the sex scene, but for something else. And but the scene where it was just so aggressive, and I was just like, why can't anybody be like, can we get a Love Jones passionate love? Which something like that happened in the first one, but it just was like graphic and just like a lot. And I was just like, oh my God, what is going on? But yeah, I enjoy it. You can tell I enjoyed this film. I know people can get, I don't want to say annoyed. I don't care if people are annoyed about social radical movies. This is kind of one of those movies, but it was enjoyable. Like I thought it was so fun. Don Cheadle, Don Cheadle's character had me rolling. There's a scene with Rob and Dee Dee. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but when I tell you, I was cracking up. I was cracking up, y'all. This movie is a ride. It's a ride. We had fun in the movie theater. Everybody was laughing. Even Christy Smith, like she was the antagonist in this film, but she had me cracking up. Like it's a very enjoyable film. Yeah, I enjoyed the film. Tell me what you guys thought about it if you're going to watch it. I didn't really dislike a lot of the things. It was like a Hitler joke. I was just like, okay, it wasn't necessary, but it wasn't like a joke where it's like a racist joke. I mean, like a anti-Semitic joke. It wasn't anything like that, but it was just like I was like, okay, you said the word Hitler, like chill out. But you know, white people was eating that up. They was like, ha ha ha. I was like, okay, it's not that funny, but okay. Yeah, that was it. The sun's going down, but yeah, let me know how you felt about the film. If you're gonna watch it, I might try to go see it again. Because like things were hit. I don't know, it's just good. I might go see it again before it goes out. And we gotta support films by Black people and people of color because baby, the industry is getting very weird, and it's getting to the point where it's like, if you don't go see this movie, they're not gonna make another movie. But it's like, this is always a conversation. It's just so annoying. But yeah, that concludes this video. I will catch you on the next one.